Okay, good afternoon. Today we are going to use a pound of ground beef and we're going to make meatloaf. Now usually my meatloaf, I kind of follow a recipe, but I don't. It's kind of like a guideline. So I've already preheated or started to preheat the oven at 350, and we're going to make a meatloaf using a pound of ground beef that is not completely thawed out, but we'll make it work. With this recipe, it normally would call for like a pound and a half, but I'm only using a pound, so I'm only going to use 1 egg, and I had already cracked it and beat that a little bit. I'm going to use 2/3 of milk instead of the 3/4, because like I said, this is being altered. And instead of using breadcrumbs, I am using oatmeal. So I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of oatmeal. And I am not using a chopped onion. I am just using minced onion, dried. So I am going to use a tablespoon. And I'm going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of salt and about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of sage. Now, if you were using breadcrumbs, a lot of times you can get plain breadcrumbs or you can get Italian breadcrumbs, and sometimes they will have the spices already in them. But like I said, I'm using oatmeal, so we're adding the spices. And then I'm going to add parsley. And I'm also going to go ahead and grab some minced garlic from the refrigerator and some amino acids. And like I said, this is the way I make it. Sometimes I add a little extra here and there. So I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of the amino acids, which is the Brags. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon of the garlic. Just adds a little extra flavor.
And the amino acids, if you don't have that, is that in place of Worcestershire sauce?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So now we are going to try our best with this hamburger to get it all mixed together, and I do use my hands. So, like I said, it may take some work, but I have been known to get it mixed. It's not completely frozen. Another thing, if you don't have breadcrumbs, if you don't have oatmeal, you can always crunch up some crackers, whether it's saltines or Ritz. It's mainly just having a type of a binder in the meatloaf. I think that's what's nice about meatloaf, is you can kind of do your own thing. All right, I think we've got that pretty well mixed in there. I am using a bread pan. And I do not grease it. I find that it's got usually enough fat in the meat itself that it does not stick to the pan. All right, so we're going to get that into here. And I'm just going to pat it out a little bit, shape it kind of like a loaf. And then we're going to mix up our sauce and put on top and bake it. Some recipes call for you to bake it, take it out, put the sauce on, and then put it back in for about 15 or so minutes. I always just bake it with it. To me, it makes it a nice, almost like a glaze, and to me it just makes the meat a little sweeter when it's all baked together. All right, so for this, I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of ketchup. And you'll probably notice with this, I always kind of go over.
Quarter cup of ketchup.
Quarter cup ketchup. Not quite a teaspoon of mustard. They call for a teaspoon, but sometimes I don't want a real strong mustard taste. And then we're going to add some brown sugar, and it calls for 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, but like I said, I've been known to add extra, so you'll notice it's really a heaping tablespoon both times. And then you just mix that up. It's more a glaze, I guess, than a sauce. To me, it just adds the sweetness to it. And then I'm going to, thank you, sorry. And we're going to just pour this on top. All of this sweetness out. And set that aside. And get that kind of just spread all over on top. And it is ready as soon as the oven is preheated. So this will bake for about an hour, at the most an hour and 15 minutes, but I will check it at an hour to see where we're at. And we will be making mashed potatoes with this evening. So I hope that you enjoy this video and enjoy making a meatloaf. So it's been in the oven an hour, and I believe it's done because, like I said, I only used a pound of ground beef and not the pound and a half. It always comes out looking juicy. I do not drain the fat off and then, like I said, put the glaze on and stick it back in. I normally just bake it like that, and I do slice it and put it on a platter. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And along with our meatloaf tonight, we are having mashed potatoes, and we are having our green beans.
So if you hear a lot of background noise, that's what that is.
Yes, it's still sizzling in the pan. All right. Interesting thing is, growing up, I never really cared for meatloaf, but that changed several years ago. Either my taste buds changed, or I got where I really like meatloaf, because we do different types of meatloafs now. So this one, if we have leftovers, always makes a great choice for lunch the next day. This is not going to cooperate with me, so that's all right. All right, so there we go. Thank you for joining us today for our meatloaf.